Ibn Omar Mohammed is trying to withdraw money from his own account. He needs cash to put food on the table and support his family. But he says it's often not possible.
I wanted to withdraw £5,000 or about $85. And a few days ago, I couldn't withdraw at all. Sometimes there's money, sometimes there's no money in the banks.
Economic problems began more than 2 decades ago when the U.S. imposed financial sanctions, accusing Sudan of supporting terrorism. Most of the sanctions were lifted last year, and Sudan devalued its currency in January. But the economy has taken a downturn, with inflation rising to nearly 70%. People are withdrawing more of their cash to keep up with rising prices. But in recent months, banks announced they didn't have enough funds to meet the demand.
People came to us asking to withdraw money. Depending on the cash we had, we could either serve them or we couldn't. And if we couldn't, we told them to look for other ways to handle their finances, such as transfers or checks. We want them to find alternatives to overcome the liquidity crisis.
But that may not be easy. Since U.S. sanctions were lifted last year, many Sudanese had high hopes that the economy would improve. Instead, getting cash from banks has become more difficult. That's because sanctions weren't the only thing hurting Sudan's economy. Sudan relies on oil exports for about 70% of its income. But that took a big hit in 2011 when South Sudan, with 70% of the oil reserves, became a separate country. The government recently announced it would tighten previously introduced austerity measures even further in an attempt to ease the situation.
All tax exemptions will be slashed except for materials needed for production. Some vehicles provided to officials will be withdrawn. We also plan to establish a commodity exchange for gold and currencies to reduce the average inflation and stabilize the exchange rate of the pound.
A crisis that has forced Ibn Omar and many others to live day by day with little cash or sometimes no cash at all. Hiba, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.